We took our very first cruise on the MSC Seashore. Now, I didn't want to go on a cruise, but my wife wanted to go on a cruise, so we talked about it and we came to the agreement we would go on a cruise. After being on board, there are a few things that you should know before you embark.
Now, we live in Florida, obviously, so us to get to Cape Canaveral did not take that long. The parking was right off of the road. We went into a parking garage. I was kind of worried about this at first. Where are we going to park? How are we going to do it? They have it lined up so that whatever ship you're leaving on, whatever departure ship you're leaving on, they have a parking garage for you, and they direct you to that parking garage. Once you're inside the parking garage, you will go and you will drop off all of your checked baggage. Basically, it's like checked baggage, kind of like at the airport. They'll bring it into your room for you. Our luggage was waiting for us by 5 p.m. the same day that we checked in. Our check-in was around 1:30. There was an extremely long line. However, once it got moving, it was a quick check-in. We had to show our passports and all of that good stuff.
We just got into the room.
You're not allowed to check into
This is our room
until 3 p.m. or that's what they tell you.
What do you think?
We got on the ship
That's nice.
around 1:45.
Little
2
couch.
o'clock, and then we were able
Nice.
to
So we'll be able.
passports, our ticket, the clothes for that night, just in case there was a problem. And of course, any medication that we brought with us. We also had to make sure that we had our themed party clothing for that night in our checkout bag as well. The first night was all travel.
There's a bunch of seagulls like flying around right beside the boat. It's kind of funny how that works.
We were going to the Caribbean, the Bahamas, and their island. So we had a whole night of sailing. And then the next day, we were in Nassau. On this trip, we went to Nassau, Ocean Cay, Cozumel, and Costa Maya. Now let's talk about excursions. If you've never taken a cruise before, excursions are like little mini tours or events when you get to a location, such as the Bahamas or Costa Maya or whatever location you're going to. They're provided by the cruise line, which makes them safe, as in the cruise is not going to leave you because it's their excursion. I'm not going to lie to you, this was the best thing for me. I was most excited about the excursions every time we got to a location. I felt like being on a cruise ship. I was cooped up. I like to get out and do things.
During that time, the tour guide will be sharing information about the area. You are allowed to walk and explore the whole cave. You can take pictures.
Mi casa es su casa. My tequila is my tequila.
All the excursion guides were very knowledgeable about the location that they were from. They were all locals, and they all took us to safe locations, and we had a lot of fun on each excursion that we went on. Even Ocean Cay had a lighthouse tour, which was exciting. It was cheap. I think it was like $25 a person. You go, you climb the lighthouse, and it's different because you get a different viewpoint of the island, and it's beautiful. Themed parties or live music, comedians. Natalie played Sudoku. They also had a veterans gathering.
Thank you, but most importantly for me to say thank you personally as being born and raised in America.
They offered to have veterans from all branches come and meet, and we shared and sang the Army song and the Marine song. We actually spent New Year's Eve 24 going into 2025 on the ship, so we had a New Year's Eve celebration on top of the ship. And the higher you go on the ship, the more rocky it is. I get motion sickness, especially on boats, but this actually didn't bother me at all. I very rarely felt queasy or anything on this cruise, and honestly, it didn't bother me except for one time when I went to the very back of the boat. The food was amazing. It changed every day. We only ate at the buffet just because We didn't want to go to the special restaurant. We tried to go one night and the line was long. They just didn't let anybody in yet because it wasn't open. And if that's your thing, that's what you can do. But we went up to the buffet every night, every day for lunch and breakfast. It had everything we needed and more. We also purchased the drink package. The drink package was, I think, $150 per person, and anything under $10 was free, which covered the soda, the coffee, specialty coffees that we drank, and things like that. Also, all the beer and cocktails were pretty much covered under that package. Before we go, I thought I would talk about a couple tips that I would use going on a cruise. Number one would be to make sure you can take the stairs. If you can take the stairs instead of the elevator, it will help out tremendously, because if you are on a cruise with kids, they push the buttons on the elevators and the elevators are working overtime to get there. You will save so much time taking the stairs. The other thing is the MSC Seashore has its own floor for teenagers. And so we didn't see a whole lot of kids other than when we went to the buffet for the restaurant. The last thing I will leave you with for tip-wise is make sure you get the Wi-Fi. We only had one person get the Wi-Fi. Natalie had the Wi-Fi because I didn't really need it, and we only needed one phone for that, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But they have an app for the ship. That way you know what's going on. Also, it has updates on your excursions in case there's anything or your excursion gets canceled.